Okay, so we see
What
a
do you
lot of
mean
hands. So that's
ritual?
perfect. So
What
basically,
do you
what
mean
we're doing, we're
rich?
going to talk about. So, hey, once someone has came and seen a presentation, seen, the expansion campaign, everything else. Now we're going to go from there, right? We're going to sit down with them. We're going to connect with them. And we're going to feel out, where they're at, what they like from the
Huh?
presentation, everything else. And so we'll start from there.
What
So one of
happened?
the big things that I found is really good. Uh, Everybody, a lot of people know. So Diane beats me, but I have a high energy as well, right? I have a very high energy. I'm very passionate. But one of the things I knew I needed to learn is when I come into, we're sitting down, we're building rapport with somebody, I need to see where they're at, right? I need to kind of see where they're at because sometimes an Eeyore can't handle Tigger. So we do need to make sure because we can actually silence our clients through that. Like if we're too excited, they're just like, I can't deal with this today. So again, Lena made it like Lena, we were talking earlier, she had a perfect example, right? It's mirroring them. Because if they come into it, hey, maybe they're really excited to come into your appointment, like they're really excited about their
Oh,
business
Rachel.
opportunity. That's fantastic.
Oh,
But then they had a day. So when they messaged you, they're at a 7. Now they had a day, they're at a 4. So it's looking at, hey, how can I come to their level and then bring them up with me? Right? So we're lifting them up together. So we're essentially matching their energy, we're building that rapport, and then we're bringing them up, right? Because we want to help open them up to what we're going to talk about versus
oh,
just
Rachel.
being the Energizer Bunny and then they push away. Don't get me wrong, I love being Energizer Bunny. I'm going to be it tonight. I got my monster here. So we're going to have a whole lot of fun with this. But going into this, right, and you look at it, you build that rapport. Again, it's having those conversations, asking them how things were, asking how their day is going, because inside of all the rapport that you do, this is where you learn their hot buttons. Do they talk about their kids? Are their kids in sports? Are their daughters in dance? Are they doing this? You get to learn kind of what those hot buttons are for somebody. So once we learn that, we can understand a person's energy level and then we can build them up, right? So at the end of the
Oh,
call, we're all just like
listen.
cheerleaders and having fun, but it's identifying that. So move as they move, right? If they're kind of sitting back, closed arms, we'll
Gentlemen.
understand that and kind of be more of a softer tone. You can still be impactful without loudness. You can still be, so it's do that understanding. So your body language, your tonality, looking at that, everything else. And it's a process,
Please
right?
tell
It's a
me
process to learn it and
what's
everything.
on your
But one of
problem.
the things I say, write this down. And this can be good, this can be bad, this can be however you take it. You are where you are because of who you are.
Okay, mom.
Now, whether that be good, whether that be bad, you are where you are because of who you are. What is your belief system? That is the big thing with anything we're going through because if you have faith and believe in this business, that's also going to help your follow-up interview. That's going to help how you talk about the business side. That's going to help you talk about how this career opportunity is. Instead of saying, I haven't made 10 grand, I'm on my way to 10 grand. I'm on my way to 100,000, right? Start having that language in there too. So that you have that, you're speaking that positive aspects into there. And then some key questions, right? So if you're sitting down, say I'm sitting down with Mr. Santiago that was sitting with Ryan, right? The first things I'm going to look where we're going through key questions is identifying what he liked about it, right? Did he where he's seen a fit for himself into the business, everything else, so that once I know that, I want the second thing is I want to identify, hey, what are some of your personal gifts, his strengths, so we can learn how to bring those into what we're doing, right? If I can sit there and I can talk about it, and then I know Ryan's having a hard day, but I was like, hey, Ryan, I know I get it. The world's beating you down. But remember when we sat and talked about, I seen such a beautiful heart in you. You have such a good passion for helping, what you want to do for your family, standing up for that. Is like, hey, no matter what, I see your strengths and I don't want you to ever forget that. So when people have that, if you know what those things are, identify their gifts, their strengths. So you can be able to have that, exactly, have that higher law language. But it also ties into
Close your eyes.
6 human needs.
Close your eyes.
Who are you sitting with?
Close your eyes.
Like, become a professional question asker
Then
and then become a professional listener. Listen to what they say, not to like to respond, but listen to understand. Right? If you're going to ask a question and then you're already on the next thing and how interesting you want to be, well, what was the point of asking the first question? Right? So asking those questions to understand that there's where they fall into the 6 human needs,
you ever seen Bakery?
where
Ever
are
seen
do you
Bakery?
all, and you don't have to, if you don't, it's okay. Do you know the 6 human needs? Raise your hand. Okay, perfect. Those of you who don't, that's perfectly fine. I would suggest grabbing the going and looking and going online, understand seeing Tony Robbins, his breakdown, because this is your business. What people are, whether they're a client or whether they want to be a business partner, it's seeing, is it certainty? Are they looking for assurance? They don't kind of want to have the hurdles, the pain, those things. Is it uncertainty or variety? Right? They have a sudden, like they have a desire for the unknown. They just want to be able to explore and kind of see new things. Is it significance? Right? A lot of people come here for significance because they want to feel unique again. They want to feel important. And maybe they're getting beat up in the world and they want to feel important. They want to be able to learn a lot of things. Hey, when you talk to somebody and you're sitting there saying, "Hey, Norbert, sitting there with you, like, what if you were the first person to change the stars for your family?" Because one of the things is, he talked about some of those things, some of the struggles he had, or some of the things he wants to change. Now he gets to be the unique person in his family tree that changes it. So, like, listening to those questions and you're building the rapport, connection, love, closeness, right? Union. We have an amazing vibe here where you turn this into your family. So, like, some of those times, those people, they want to feel close, they want to feel cared about. They sometimes they need to say, "Hey, how is your day?" Not, "Hey, how many points do you have?" Right? Build these people as in you're building your family, right? Because sometimes they're going to want that connection, that love, and then contribution, right? Service, helping, but also one for me for contribution. I want to leave this world better than I found it. And that's a big thing. And this is the business that is going to give us that ability to. So when you go through it, when you're sitting with in your follow-up interview, what are their 6 human needs? Right? What are they looking for? What do they want? How does that sit in there with them? Either way, because the second that someone says I can't, it means I won't. Let that sink in a little bit. If the second that someone says I can't, it just means I won't. Oh, I can't think of 5 people. I won't think of 5 people. Oh, I can't make 10 phone calls. I won't make 10 phone calls. So these are the reasons why, if we can actually understand, hey, who are we sitting in front of? What are their keyword, their hot buttons, their goals, their aspirations for this business. And we have ours, but it's looking at what are theirs. And so a really, really good question I love to ask people is, do your current habits allow you or limit you? Same thing with career. Hey, I'm sitting down. Hey, Valerie, so we're going through these things. I just wanted to ask you, does your current career allow you to more or limit you? and then let them answer. Don't try to be like, oh, well, ours can do this much and we can do this. And we can just ask them and please be quiet after. Like, let's let them talk. Right. So like that way they have you can understand what that is. Then you can understand instead of asking them what is your dream career? Because honestly, for me, my dream career would be to get paid to eat and sleep. Like, let's just be real. Free food all the time. Roll me around. Let's go. So I'm not going to answer to Aaron, what would your dream career be? But understanding what are their current struggles? Does your situation allow you or does it limit you? And build with that with them. And that's where you can go into the higher law, right? The language of a better life. Because everything to do in your follow-up interview is to bring it down in steps of understanding, building with them. And then a good question, a really good question that you could ask them is, and once you've kind of understood that, because now you're going to see if they're a fit for us, but are we a fit for them? A good one. So we intend to maintain a high standard of excellence. What qualities do you bring to the table for a company? Right? For a time being, it's not WFG, it's on their back, it's your last name. These people are entering your team, right? Yes, across Canada, coast to coast, that's that. But looking at it, hey, this could be sometimes if you want to spin it, a really good part-time thing, a really good side hustle thing, that's all it'll be for that person. So make sure if you try to dull down the opportunity to get a yes, you're only going to get return what you dulled it down to. Hey, I think it'd be really good if you came and did this part time. They'll probably only do this part time. Big visions can take on small visions. Small visions can't take on big. What if that person wanted it big and they're like, man, they only want me part time here. I'm looking for something else. So understand, don't sell it short. Understand what this opportunity is and what you're actually giving to people so that what it is, they can see it. So they have that growth. They have that inside of there. So and that's going to help for it. And then something, looking at it is a, I don't work, this is for me, take it with a grain of salt, right? Don't get mad at me or if your SND does whatever else, but I don't work with potential. I work with commitment. I know because in my mind, our minds are fragile. We're humans, we're emotional, we like chocolate. I get it, but we're fragile. So if we're constantly looking at potential and someone's got potential, well, potential for what? So look at when you're doing this, because it's going to lead to a second one is what do you want to work with? Because you're going to have a business partner that's probably going to be with you for 10, 20, 30 years. So it's kind of identifying that with them. And that can go into the next question where, like, say if we're sitting down, hey, we're going through it, and that's where we can talk about it's worth it. Because worth it equals work for it. Because it sticks. What you work for sticks because it's worth the hustles. It's worth that someone said no. It's worth all those things. I've in my mind, I've just begun this. I've been told no so many times. I just kind of like the little inflatable thing that bounces down and comes back up because I really don't care. They're not paying the bills for my mom. But when you talk about those things to people and you get to share those experiences with them inside of that, where you get to essentially talk about you and you get to be that closer example for them, that is going to help them understand it's worth it when I work for it. No one, I thought about this many people when I took my mom to Mexico. I didn't think about anyone that said no, told me I was foolish, but you can share that with those people inside those things. And then one of the last things that I'll touch on is when we talk about it, is anybody scared to build a business, to build a team? And it's okay if you are. I was scared at the beginning. I didn't know what I was doing. So with that, kind of go through, understand who you are, understand your leadership capacity, where you can, where you can and you can't, because we have amazing leadership here that will help us, right? If I can't do something, which is social media, I ask Lena, hey, can you help me with this? Because I know that's a strength for her. And it's leaning on people. But when it comes to leadership, we don't have to be the only leader. We can lean on our leadership. We can do a lot of those things, but identifying where we're at to be able to do that. So when we talk to someone, because I think the best question when I look at it and I say, hey, I'm sitting down with Katrina. So Katrina, we're going to sit down. We're going through this. We talked about it. Yeah, you're super fired up and excited. And I want to share with you the power of growing a team, but just not for any reason. And I would say, Katrina, if we're looking at it and you're going to grow a championship team, you're thinking about people that would go to war with you. They're going to have your back. Everything else. Who are the top three people that just come to mind? Right, and that is the people. It's not five. It's not 10. It's not 20. It's three, because those three people are credible and they're going to have that example. So who are the top three people? Like, hey, who would you go to war with? And another one, if they're different, but you can completely ask them, hey, currently right now, Katrina, if you could retire right now, who are the three people you're going to bring to the beach with you? Who are the three people you just like, retirement starts, we're going? Those are the people we want to talk to you, because you're new in this business. They understand you. You obviously have a love for them. It doesn't matter if they're in your business, but it matters that they know your business and that they're a billboard for you, right? We want as many people seeing you, supporting you, understanding you, so we can help shift your identity from how they know you to showing like how you're growing, right? So it's helping people with that. So that's a lot of little things. Again, that's just me talking. So hopefully there was something good in there for you guys. But just look at it as the little things that you want to do is understanding, where you're at, how you can lead, how you can do things, and that you're not alone in this business. That was the easiest thing for me. Now I get the opportunity, so I get to bring up Lena. So Lena's going to be able to, again, touch on things. There'll be some similarities, there'll be some differences, there'll be everything in there. But I learned a lot from her. And I like to say she learned a lot from me, like tough love, probably. But in that sense, is I leaned on her when I didn't know, because we're here to do that. So now, if you guys will please, I can see you all. So actually put our hands together and let's welcome up Miss Lena Stadler.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. And I've learned a lot from Aaron over the years, right? And that's the cool thing about building a team is don't let your ego be too high to learn from other people. And then also have grace sometimes with your SMDs because they're growing as well. And I'm glad that Aaron did that because we won't go into that. Okay. Next up, have grace with people. That's always going to be good. One thing, since we're putting some of our Instagram handles up here, one thing that I actually learned from Paige Grant that I really, really loved is whenever she does a follow-up interview with someone, or even just right after they have a conversation after someone shows up to the BPM, she's like, hey, Aaron, what's your Instagram? Let me follow you. And then what she does is says, hey, go follow Savannah, go follow Adam, go follow whoever else. And then even if they don't become a client or a recruit right then, they're going to see all my stuff, all Savannah's stuff, and it's just going to be a constant reminder to reach out to Paige. And she says she does that with every guest that they have. She'll just like, hey, what's your Instagram? Let me follow you. And I'll send you some pages to follow. They're super inspiring. And I thought that was so genius, right? And I've been telling my team to do that more often. Leverage the people that have been around a little bit longer. Like I would always like send people Steve Holbrook's Instagram. And then they were like, wait, you work with this guy? He has like Ed Milet all over his page. It looks awesome. Mine definitely doesn't look like Steve's. And they know he's a big deal, so to speak, right? He has a podcast and all that stuff. And that just gave me credibility early on as well. Right. So make sure you guys are doing that. Your business card nowadays is social media. Don't tell Greg I said that. But it does play a big factor. So be utilizing that. And that's one of like I follow all my clients on Instagram or Facebook. I make sure that way it makes it easier for me to catch up with them too. Right. They had a baby. Sometimes they don't tell you. Right. So sometimes just having that, where you see their page and what's going on in their life, is nice too. And if they can't sit down yearly, because sometimes they'll, push that off, at least you still know what's going on day to day. Does that make sense? Good. Okay. So I wanted to share my screen. We want to go through this. I wanted to reiterate this slightly, just so you guys have a visual. If you guys wanted to take a picture of what Erin was going through for the 6 human needs and why this is so important. The reason you're not a great recruiter yet is because you don't understand this. And this is such an important part to when you're doing the follow-up interview, the whole conversation, right? Because write this down, you guys. Sell them their dream, not your dream. Sell them their dream, not your dream, right? Show them how they can go and achieve what it is that they want out of this business, not what you want, right? I've had people on my team that were love and connection people. Love those guys, right? They're the glue to the team, right? But if they're sitting in a recruiting appointment and all they're talking about is like, man, we have such a great community, we have such a great team, you're gonna love it here, you get to connect with people, and all this guy wants to do is run through a wall and succeed and be somebody, right? Significance. You're not speaking their language, right? They're like, maybe this isn't for me. So you always want to make sure you're speaking their language. How do you do that? Know these 6 human needs. Right, Erin went through those, so I'm not gonna dig in, but you can Google this. Tony Robbins has like a whole, website thing and explains this into detail. But realize who you're sitting down with, and maybe pop in the chat which one you are, or all of them, by the way. But 1 or 2 are more dominant than the others. For me, was the significance, especially when I first started. Growth. Again, it's all of them, but those were kind of the main ones. I wanted to do something special. I wanted to be able to, help a lot of people. I wanted to have the opportunity for growth. I had 11 jobs prior to working at WFG, and I was 18 when I started. I got bored really quick, right? I was that variety, uncertainty kind of person. Like I wanted something exciting. I wanted something that was going to challenge me, and that growth side of things really helped with that. So every time you sit down with someone, and I want you guys to put in the chat which one you think you are, just to start identifying that. But every time you sit down with someone, start to think, okay, who is Valerie? Is she love and connection type person? Is she more significant? You want to get good. You almost want to develop this new sense of what kind of person that they are. Maybe I want you guys to put this in the chat if you know Diane. What do you think Diane's is? Let's test you guys out. I need my 2-minute music. And while we're at it, for Joseph, what do you guys think Joseph Rivera's is? I already know these ones. If you guys know Pastor Joe, he's all about relationships and love and connection, contribution, 100%, right? So you need to speak to what's important to them, okay? So sell them their dream, not what yours is. Some questions that you can ask. These are my favorite ones. Pro tip, by the way, put it on a piece of paper. This is like right above my computer, and it's just there as a reminder. I don't really need this anymore. It's just there, right? But if you don't know what questions to ask people, you need to have a little list by your computer. And that's the cool thing about Zoom. Back in the day, we couldn't be like, hang on 1 second, let me just turn around and check my notes. Right? And then like, you can't do that. With Zoom, you can have notebooks everywhere. You can have these sticky notes everywhere and have little cheat sheets, which is awesome. So some of the questions that I like to ask is, hey, Erin, so what do you like about your job? And then you guys, I'm going to teach you the best trick. Okay, you ready? I'm gonna do it again. Make sure you guys catch it. Hey, Aaron, what do you like about your job? You sip your water and you shut up. Okay, or your tea. Someone taught me this. They're like, Lena, take the tea. Because I would like anyone else like this, where you ask them a question and then you just like rush into answering it because they don't answer right away. And it's a little uncomfortable, that pause. You can't embrace the pause. It's a little awkward. So you just try to like answer. You guys know what I'm talking about? Right? So I learned this valuable trick from a mentor of mine. He's like, you need to shut up more. You need to just have your tea, have your water. By the way, this is how I get in like at least a good 3 liters of water a day, is by having my water here. Every time I ask a question, I sip my water. Okay? Just gives them a second. And some people, they're not like as fast as I am with responding necessarily, right? They might need like a hot second to gather their thoughts and respond to you, right? So having that sip of water, this is going to be your best friend. Okay? Okay, Aaron, what would you say? What's one thing you would change about your current job? This is the key. They'll tell you exactly what they want. This is like they're giving you it on a silver platter, right? Like this is the key. What's one thing you would change if you could? What's one thing you would change with your job? I don't know about you guys, but most people, like if you ask them, so how do you like what you do? They're usually pretty fake with it. They're like, yeah, it's not bad, pays the bills, right? They don't actually tell you. That does not tell you anything. It's very rare that they're that honest and like, I hate it, right? So the next question, I love this one. What's one thing you would change if you could? Sip your water, get that H2O in. And those are some good ones that you can start with, right? And then there's a whole bunch of more, right? If you go into the high impact booklets, I'll share that in a little bit. We'll go through that. But really getting an idea of what's important to them. Another question that's really important to ask when you do a follow-up interview is, from the presentation, what stuck out to you the most? Was it the financial side, the career side, or a little bit of both? What stuck out to you the most? Funny. What stuck out to you the most was the financial side, the career side, or a little bit of both? And then you can ask what was most appealing to you about our platform? That's one question that we go through in our orientation, actually. I want to get to know what's important to them. What was most appealing about our platform? And then what do you hope to achieve here? If you could maybe build a business, this tells me how big they think. Do you want to maybe build a business, be one of our senior partners, be one of those 100K earners on the wall that you see? Maybe it's earning part-time income, helping people like 5 years from now, right? Like obviously we're just going to start you out part-time, but 5 years from now, where do you see yourself? Is it learning about money and finance, right? And they'll tell you exactly where they want to be, right? That gauges you with the level of their thinking as well. And it's not, even if they say something small like, I just want to learn about money, I want to help a couple people, it doesn't mean that they won't be big. Does that make sense? Because that was me. I'm like, I would just love to make 60 grand a year. That was like all the money in the world. Greg had that on my FLS sheet when I first did my plan, right? That was like all the money in the world to me. But it doesn't mean that they're not going to shift their mindset and think bigger as they go on. Okay. So what impact do you want to have here? What are some of your top goals? Let's say if money wasn't an issue, let's say you started working here and you made 10, 20, 30 grand in a month, which I know can maybe sound crazy if you aren't earning that consistently. Let's say even 5 or 10. What would your life look like? What's one thing you would spend that money on? Oh, I'd pay off my debt. I would do this or that. And you want to start getting them really excited of what's possible, right? And then I like to bring it back to reality. Hey, this is going to take some work. The studying, not fun. Unless you're that weirdo that likes to study. There's always one. There's got to be one, at least on this call. Anyone like studying? Oh my gosh, Joseph, of course you do. But most people, most of us are not going to like studying. Let's be honest. But it's one of those things you want to prioritize. You want to just get out of the way. Don't have a life for a couple weeks. A lot of our agents as of recent have been doing it in a week or two. And these are like single moms. These are people that have busy lives. They homeschool their kids, right? Like they work full-time jobs, they run businesses, and they still do it. So it's all a matter of choice, right? And sometimes, yes, it can take a little bit longer. Life happens, but a lot of people, they can get it done in a couple weeks, typically, even a month, which I think is a really good pace, right? So I love that. Okay, next up. you want to reiterate some of the things that were talked about, right? Like when they say what was most appealing, what stuck out to them the most. I like to reiterate some of the things and highlight some of the areas of what's in it for them, the fundamental goodness of our company. Let me share my screen here. Here we go. So we went through, you know, the kind of questions, but you want to be able to again sell them their dream and talk about what's important to them. So fundamental goodness of our company. I loved how, you know, we have such amazing leadership like Greg and Jay and all those guys. And you can so go through this. This will be your homework. Let me actually make this bigger. If you don't have this yet, take a snapshot of these 3 pages that I'm going to be going through. And what your homework is highlight or write out which ones resonate with you, which ones kind of fit your vibe, I guess you can say. And then I'll start applying these to your regular way of communication, right? So maybe you like, I love, you know, some things I love about our company is that they're mentoring me on how to build a real business. We get recognized and lifted up instead of scrutinized and teared down, right? We can all agree to that a little bit. And you don't want to go through too many, otherwise it becomes like we're almost trying a bit too hard. But find the ones that really resonate with you. They're helping me become a better father, mother, whatever it might be. Just being in this environment, I've been able to. The conversations are just different with people who are growth focused, right? And that's what I love. I'm learning so much about entrepreneurship, about business, becoming a better human, making sure that my strength of character is there, right? Like that's what our founder talks about all the time. And when I saw Rich Dolly speak, I'm like, man, this is not only a business and a way for me to earn a living, this is also shifting generations, right? If I was the same old Lena from 12 years ago when I started, I would not have, I'm gonna mute everybody again. I would not have the lifestyle and just like the happiness that I have right now because of you know, not having that growth. So when you're around people who are growth focused, you're going to grow, right? When I heard Jay and Greg talking about how much they earned that day in their cycle, I'm like, man, there's so much good. And then hearing Greg, and you don't hear these things much because of course people don't talk about that, but I remember one year Jay told me, oh yeah, I'm going with Greg. We're actually gonna go buy a whole school pizza for Christmas. And then we actually did that as a team as well one year. And it was just, you know, cool things like that. Like my previous bosses never, they couldn't even hand out a little $10 Timmy's gift card for a job well done, right? And here they're doing things on a much bigger scale. Okay, so that's the fundamental goodness of our company. So maybe you reiterate some of those in the follow-up interview. And again, this shouldn't take super long, but just having a couple, the crusade of what we do and why this is so important. Some of my favorite ones are, you know, hey, they don't teach us this stuff in school. I don't know about you, but I'm trying to always increase my financial IQ. And I want to go and learn and become, you know, the best version of myself. And here we get to help people. We save marriages essentially, right? If you look at the #1 cost of divorce in North America, stress due to finance. One of my clients, you can say one of our clients works in mental health and addictions, and he said at the core, stress due to finance. And although he has such an important job, they don't pay him nearly enough what he should be getting paid, right? And that's what I love about our opportunity is being able to earn extra income. So talking about that crusade, what's important to you? Does it roll off your tongue? Right? I know for me, English is my third language. I was no word ninja, right? Like this stuff did not come to me naturally. Nowadays we have ChatGPT. I'm like, put together a cool caption of this, or how do you ask this cool question? And boom, it just gives you a bunch of stuff, right? So you don't have to be a word ninja anymore. But we have all of this put together for you. All you need to do is find some that sound like you and make sure you're using them in your presentations. Guaranteed, if you're not getting the results that you want right now with your recruits, guaranteed you're probably not using this language, right? So you want to, we call this higher law. Lower law is like logistics. If Aaron teaches me like how the course works, how the training looks, that's all logistics, right? Higher law is on emotion. You move people based on emotion. And it's talking about things like this, things that matter, you know? Like you want to look at how can you really move people? It's not going to be talking about life insurance, right? Although it's important and we all love life insurance, most people don't give a crap, right? And so when we are the ones, when we're talking in a different language where now they're understanding it in the sense of like you share a family example, maybe a client example of ours, Doesn't have to be your own, by the way. You can use some of the examples you hear on a Wednesday night like this, and you start having conversations like that with them, and things shift. And then the most important one, what's in it for them? Sometimes when I'm CFTing people, all I hear in the audio or hear them going over is they're selling why WFG is so great. Wrong. You want to ask good questions. What's important to you? What's one thing you would change about your current job? What would you say your dream lifestyle costs? Like if and obviously we'd all want $1 million a year for that coming in, but like, let's say like a comfortable lifestyle that you really enjoy, what would that number be? Is it 10, 15 grand a month? Okay. Can your job ever get to paying you that? Is that ever a possibility to where you can go earn $10,000, $15,000 in a month with your job? No? Okay, Erin, I think it makes sense to probably, explore other options. Does that make sense? Right? And so then they're thinking, yeah, you're right. I have an okay job, but I'm still paycheck to paycheck. I'm still not saving the amount that I can. So you want to get good at asking them good questions and really like be super curious of, hey, what's important to you? What do you want? What does that life look like? And then show them how they can go do that here. That's what the 6 steps or the 6 human needs are all about. It's asking them all the questions. You kind of get all the information you need, and then you can diagnose and prescribe, so to speak, right? Then you can show them, hey, here's how you can go and accomplish that here. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. And then I'll go through some of the objections here. It's not moving my screen here. Okay, so some of the recruiting objections, you want to have these prepared as well, because when someone comes in from a BPM or a fault, like you guys have already sat down and gone through what we do, you want to be prepared with knowing how to answer any questions or objections that they might have. So if they say, hey, you know what, I want to think about it. Hey, just, for me to clarify, since we're here, which part are you wanting to think about? Is it more of like the training program, the company, the products we offer, compensation? What does that look like? And then they'll tell you, they'll kind of dig into it a little bit deeper. And if there's a question that you can answer while you're there, I like to do that. This one will come in quite often. I don't know many people yet. I love using examples of Adesala. He started with us in the middle of COVID, right? And he had just moved to Canada in the middle of COVID, like pretty much right after he moved, he started. I always talk about him in my presentations because it's inspiring. Despite not knowing anyone, in the last 12 months, he's made 70 grand, maybe more now, with us part-time. Not bad for part-time, right? He's a full-time engineer, like he's doing okay, right? And eventually coming full-time. So the whole, I don't know many people nowadays. You can argue with anybody else. You can't argue with me nowadays. There are so many ways you can go on social media, and there's millions of people at your fingertips. I just moved to Toronto, and I had to actually practice what I preach, all the little tips and tricks of how to meet people. I've been doing a bunch of that between meetings and stuff like that, trying to network a little bit more. And let me tell you guys, it's easy. Most of the Facebook groups that are out there, they have chats. I didn't know that, but that's a thing. So you can actually go into chats and have conversations with people. And all I said, hey, I was on this women's entrepreneur page in Toronto. I'm like, hey, I'm new here, just moved here from Edmonton. Don't know a lot of people yet, would love to connect. And I think probably like 15, 16 women so far reach out. Hey, I'm downtown as well. Let's go for a coffee. I work in finance as well, or whatever they do. And there's a bunch of new contacts right there, right? So when they say they don't know any people, we have a solution for that. We'll teach you all about that. We'll teach you exactly how that looks. And then some of the other ones, I'm not a salesperson. Perfect. We don't want salesy people. We want people who are actually going to educate, and they care about our people, right? We're not here to sell. We're here to educate, right? And if you feel like you're selling, you're not doing it the right way. We want to make sure that we do a good job for people, and that it's ultimately their decision, and we're making sure that they feel comfortable. So I have a couple more things here, but we are out of time. I wanted to go through some takeaways, something that you learned, or maybe something that we said that gave you an idea to go and take action with something. So put your Zoom hand up or unmute yourself, and we'll go through some takeaways. Or I'm just going to pick people.
Takeaway. I'll share a takeaway.
Go ahead.
I really loved what you're talking about, just expanding and getting into new markets, and by getting into social media, Facebook groups. I think that that's such a great idea. I don't know why I've never thought about that. And then even just like meeting other people for coffee. Something you did on your Instagram a while ago was just like doing a virtual coffee with people. And as soon as like you're saying that, like I'm meeting new people in Toronto, I was like, that's such a great idea too. Is just like putting it out to your social media about wanting to meet new people. That was a big takeaway for me.
Yeah, I love it. And I think since COVID, a lot of people have been saying this. It's whether they're in business or not, they just want to go and meet people because they've been a hermit for so long. So it doesn't even have to be business people. It can be people who just want to connect and grow their social medias and stuff like that. So I kind of opened it up. We had a women's virtual coffee and I met so many people. I put it on, there's an app called Meetup, and you can meet like you can do events and stuff. And I met like 50 people through that. So it's just about starting to get resourceful. And anytime you feel dull and like your business is not moving forward, go into a mastermind like this. Go pick a few different people who have it going on and rub shoulders with them. Learn from them. Get some good motivation and inspiration. And boom, you have a whole bunch of things going on again. Okay, Candace.
No, the two.
Erin, that was an awesome class. Thank you so much. You know what, the 6 human needs, I just love talking about that. We're always making those connections. But just even just the reminder, right? You're selling their dream, not theirs. And sometimes, you know, we do a lot of meetings. I've done a lot of meetings today, and now I'm reflecting back and I'm like, was I mirroring their energy? Was I too fired up? What was I selling? Was I selling? You know, like I'm just good reflection and remembering that, you know, just watching your tone, your language. Are you meeting them where they are? Right? And being aware of that, because we're going in there with a direction and it's all about them. And we can lose sight about that a little bit, right? So just an excellent just reminder and moving forward. Yeah, I really love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. I love it. Diane.
I appreciate the objections part of this evening. Most specifically, I'm not a salesy type person. I hear that one all the time, and I know that's not what we do, but I don't know how to articulate the words. So I appreciate that objection. Thank you.
Yeah, and there's more objections. We just didn't have time to go through all of them. If you guys have your high impact booklets, you can, if you don't know what that is, talk to your SMD, they can send it over to you. But it's really important to go into each meeting knowing the response to all of them. Again, have your notepads all over your computer. If you need to look away and quickly get the response, you know, you're good. So you want to go in prepared, knowing what they might ask and how to answer it effectively. Laura.
Want to be this? Want to be.
Just a second, Rachel. Mommy's talking. Thank you, Lena. This is such a great class, and I needed to hear. I'm on virtually from home, but I've been looking for babysitters. So thanks to your social media influence, I've been like into looking for babysitters in the area. And I'm like, hey, they used to run a day home. I used to run a day home. That's actually my market. So I'm getting lots of phone numbers anyway. And I also love the story of Odessa because I've had like, I'm meeting people that are just come to the country. And I know if you can connect a story of someone who's succeeding in the business and say, hey, here's someone who came in COVID. That's incredible. Thanks for sharing that.
100%. It's super inspiring. Definitely utilize those stories. And hey, we're going to teach you exactly how to do all of that. We have classes on things like that. Even if they are brand new to the country, they don't know anybody, right? There's a lot of different ways to meet people, but that's a different class. So with that, I hope you guys got some value out of it. The biggest things that I want you guys to make sure you wrote down, sell them their dream. Sell them what's important to them, right? Really get to the bottom of like what moves them. We want to find what that is and help them go and achieve that here, right? This is not about, don't be a me tooer. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, you have a 2-year-old? Me too. I have a 2-year-old. And you start talking about yourself. Again, some of y'all, if you're an extrovert, this is probably a little issue for you. Drink your water, ask the question, and shut up, right? In a nice way, respectfully. Don't tell Greg I was saying this in our class. But it's a really good lesson, right? Because I like have your tea, have your water, and like ask them the questions. If you're an introvert, you have no problem with this. Introverts are great listeners, and that's what will make you so good at this business, is because you're just naturally going to listen, right? Yeah, Valerie, me too. And when someone told me that, I'm like, okay, I can own that because we're naturally great listeners. Extroverts, hey, you have a lot of other strengths in the business. Listening, usually not one of them. So, but the good news is we can learn. We can get better in this area. And water is going to be your best friend. You ask a question and you just lean back and you take your tea, sip your water, and you're just going to be like, wow, my appointments are so much better. So I hope you guys got some good value from that. And we are going to hop onto the recognition Zoom here right away. So we'll see you guys all on there. Take care, guys.